Hey everyone, exciting news. We've officially launched the Paranoid Perspective Patreon. If you love what we do, unpacking conspiracies, chasing mysteries, and laughing through the weirdness, now you can support the show and get more of it.
So, for as little as $5 a month, you will get exclusive access and extra perks to the episode. Sarah, what do we get with tier one?
So, tier one is the Curious Minds, and you get a shout out at the end of every episode.
Next tier, this is what you guys really probably want, ad free episodes. We don't need those pesky ads that you guys are getting on Spotify, Apple, whatever else. You will get all episodes ad free, along with what else, Sarah?
You'll also get it ahead of time. So before the episode releases for that week, it'll be available for you to watch or listen.
So, if you guys are interested, check in the show notes down below, or you can head to patreon.com/ the Paranoid Perspective Podcast. Welcome back to the Paranoid Perspective. I am Jake.
And I'm Sarah.
Today, we're going to get into the stuff they don't want you to know, the proverbial they, okay? And the proverbial they in this week's episode is going to be NASA. Sarah, do you know what NASA stands for?
North American Space Agency.
Nope, you
I
would
don't
be
know.
wrong. You are a sheeple and you just go off of the information that people give you. It's never a straight answer because they're lying to us all the time. No, I was listening to a podcast and man, this dude was all there just going ham, and that's what he fucking said, and I about lost it
wow.
when he said that. I was like, dude, I got to use that. Oh God, it was so good.
That's
Now,
pretty good.
that's what I thought. I was like, you're crazy, but man, that is creative. That is really creative. I appreciate that sort of, creativity coming from such an insane person. But anyway, listeners, we are talking about the hollow moon, and it's kind of wild. There's a lot of weird stuff in space, stuff that we see out there that just doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, for instance, you probably heard of like, what is that, the Dark Knight satellite that they photographed where
Yeah.
it's orbiting. It's probably a piece of space debris, but it looks really weird, and who knows, we don't really know what it is. And then you had that, what's that here recently, Oumuamua that flew in from interstellar space.
Oh yeah.
Right. So yeah, and we've talked about it before where the likelihood of life is probably pretty high out in space. There's just too many variables. But those weird things, we never really have a straight answer because we just don't know what it is. But listeners, today I'm going to expose the theory of something that we see every night, looking up, and maybe it's looking back at us. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, the man in the moon.
yeah, the man in the moon. But let's
look at that.
Yeah, let's get into the hollow moon theory, okay? Or as it's also been coined, the spaceship moon. Now, these...
Oh, really? I've never heard that.
I've never heard of it either. And see, listeners, I was going to do a double feature for you today, but when I started talking about the spaceship moon, I was like, oh, shit, I cannot do a double feature. Like, there's too much stuff, too much truth to get out to you people, okay? But these are pseudoscientific hypotheses that propose that the Earth's moon is either wholly hollow. I love that phrase right there, wholly hollow. Or otherwise contains a substantial interior space. So there's no scientific evidence, exists to support this idea. But, they're controlling the information, Sarah. So, of course, they're not going to tell us what it is, because we never get a straight answer.
Have they ever drilled? They don't even know.
They don't even know. And the thing with this is, there have been like seismic observation data collected when we used to when we were doing orbits of the moons with the Apollo missions and the landings of the moons with the same missions. Most of those indicated that it was solid, with like
Hmm.
a slightly thinner crust, an extensive mantle, and a dense core. So it's similar to Earth,
Mm.
but it's not nearly as dense. So I think that's where a lot of this hollow Earth or hollow moon stuff kind of comes from. Is there's some particular phrases that we'll get into that people have said in the past that just people jump on just because, oh well, if that's what you said, that's what
Mm.
it means, you know, that whole thing.
Right. Yeah.
But why the hollow moon hypothesis usually proposes the hollow space as a result of natural processes, the related spaceship moon holds that the moon is an artifact created by an alien civilization. This belief usually coincides with UFOs or the ancient aliens or the ancient astronaut theory. So,
Mm-hmm.
if you guys are
They're
fans of
watching us.
they are, they've been watching us from the beginning. If you guys are a fan
Yeah.
of, the History Channel, I'm sure you got people, listeners, you've seen Ancient Aliens with Giorgio Tsoukalos with his crazy hair, and you've definitely seen the meme
Yeah.
of the aliens. So
Right. I love him.
he's great.
Alien.
He is so great, dude. And see, one thing I will say about him is he is so unabashedly unafraid to say what he thinks. I'm
Mm.
here for it. Now, some of his stuff, it's a little out there. Do I believe in a lot of it, what he says? Not really. But he 100% is all in. And I got to respect that.
Yeah.
So, but this idea of this spaceship moon or this hollow moon, um, there's a I don't want to get into like the super past because you're going off of cultures and whatnot that really were more storytellers and passing these down before
Mm.
written language. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
there's some things where there's like ancient cultures talking about a time before the moon, like, but was that really what they were saying? Or
Right.
you know what I mean? It's hard to kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
pin that down. But
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of different origin stories that
it,
are
yeah.
not based in reality.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the typical, like, the Earth is on the back of a turtle, you know, going through
Yep.
the cosmos.
Yeah.
So, and we know for sure that we are not on the back of a turtle swimming through the cosmos. So, but the mainstream idea of this dates probably in like the 70s. There were two Soviet
Hmm.
authors that published a short piece in the popular press. This press is called Sputnik. It's like the Reader's Digest for the
Mm.
Soviet Union back in the day. And we know no
Okay.
misinformation came out from the Soviet Union during that time, or
Right.
even America for that matter. That was the
Oh,
age
yeah.
of disinformation. We think we live in a crazy world now. Dude, they were lying about shit left and right just to kind of one up each other. So,
Yeah, that's true. They got to be the best,
right.
even at lying to their own
Even
people.
lying to their own people.
Yep.
But so this was published. It was I believe the article was published something like the spaceship moon theory. Like I think that's kind of where it started coming from, and then it kind of like diverged off into like the
Mm.
hollow moon. And those two are kind of like intermingled. I've seen a lot of people kind of say the same thing about both. So I'm not gonna like do like separate pieces for these, um, but essentially it like I kind of said earlier, the piece was speculating that the moon was created of alien intelligence and somehow
Mm.
placed to observe and watch and do whatever these
Okay.
aliens be doing. But
Yeah, it was just like dropped. Here you go.
yeah, apparently it's just like, up here you go. We're gonna hang out here for eons. But the this theory has been endorsed by conspiracy theorists like Jim Mars and David Icke. Okay, David Icke is one of those weird ones because he used to be like I believe he was a football player, and I think when I say football, I don't mean the American football, I mean soccer. And
Oh,
instead of being like I think he was a sportscaster for a while, but I can't remember the entire story. But apparently he slipped and hit his head, and reptilians came and talked to him.
okay. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah.
We should talk about him.
We
That's
need to do
crazy.
a whole episode on David Icke. He, from
Yeah.
what I saw off of this, he is very, very interesting. So, but then, with this sort of stuff, they kind of made its way into pop culture too. So, um, it's been in science fiction movies, like earliest being H.G. Wells and the novel The First Men on the Moon. That was part
Oh.
of. So even before they started talking about this like spaceship theory, people were already thinking that the moon could possibly be
Mm.
hollow, with little evidence to support that. It was just more of a thought that they had.
Right.
And then, other works such as The Hollow Earth and Nels Kim's Underground Travels. I've never heard of that one. That is
Mm.
a novel
I've
from the
never heard of it.
17 That's a novel from the 1700s, so that makes sense why. Yep.
Okay.
I'm happy I
Yeah.
added that in my notes because I was like, where the hell did that come from?
Right. If anyone knows about it.
Yeah, give us a
And
shout on Nels Kim's Underground Travels.
yeah.
But in all seriousness, the hollow Earth, the hollow Moon, they're kind of coincide with each other. They are universally considered to be fringe or conspiracy theories to the sheeple. Okay, like I said.
That's right.
But let's talk about like actual hard facts about the moon. Well, for us, uninitiated hard facts, people that believe that the Earth is or the moon is hollow, then these are not hard facts. This is just all a lie. We kind of talked
Yeah.
about the density of the difference between like the Earth and the moon, and I think this is like where a lot of this mis misplaced thought comes from, right? The moon, its density is let's see, zero point 0.3 or 3.3 grams per centimeter, whereas Earth is 5.5 grams per centimeter. I'm not going to pretend like I know what that means, but what I can see from just those numbers is that the Earth is more dense. Okay. Mainstream science, the reason why they say that this is the case is due to the Earth's upper mantle and the crust are less dense than its heavier core. So it's almost like, from what I'm reading
Mm.
for here, the moon has this rocky outer core, but then it's kind of malleable throughout the rest of it. It's not as
Mm.
solid. You know what I mean? Now, when we
Okay.
say not
Yeah.
as solid, we're still talking about rock. We're still talking about like, I believe there is cooled magma that is still malleable to a certain extent. We're not talking about silly putty that you can pick up and just play with. We're talking about the
Right.
solid
Yeah.
materials. Like if you just saw it, you would think it's a solid piece of rock. But in comparison
Mm.
to the Earth, it's not as dense. So
Yeah.
there
Okay.
was a phrase that happened during the Apollo missions. The moon rang like a bell. This is
Yeah.
where
I was
people.
waiting for you to say that.
Yep, I was about to say this is what people freaking hold on to. Okay. So between 1969 and 1977, seismometers were installed on the moon by the Apollo missions to record moonquakes. I don't know why the word moonquakes terrifies the shit out of me, but that sounds so scary.
Well, it's
So
earthquake, but moon.
yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like it should be a thing. But when the moon
Oh.
was described as ringing like a bell during some of those quakes, especially the shallow ones, this phrase was brought to
Mm.
attention in a 1970s article in Popular Science. So when we've talked about like the density, if it's not as dense, these moonquakes, like we're talking, when I was listening to a podcast earlier today, they registered on the Richter scale anywhere from like 4 to 5 on the Richter scale. So enough if we were here on Earth to like you would feel it, right? And it would move some
Yeah.
stuff. Not enough to have like structural damage to like hard standing buildings, but you would definitely feel it. The problem is these moonquakes last for hours. They just keep going back and forth through
Mm.
the medium until there's not
Oh wow.
enough of that power to, move anymore. It's slowed down by the actual density of the moon. But like I said earlier, since it's so much less dense, they just keep kind of going back and forth. Whereas here on Earth, you might have an earthquake last for a couple minutes, compared to those couple hours that you would get. So
Right.
when I think when they said ring like a or rang like a bell, that's what we're referring to. Like if you hit a bell, we're using an analogy, people. We're not
Uh,
saying that it
that sounded
physically
like it.
rang like a bell. It's an analogy to
Right.
talk about the reverberations going through the material that keeps cycling through like a bell. That is what we're referring to.
Mm,
But we
debunked.
well, probably not. But like I said,
Yeah.
listeners, I don't really know. I'm not going to sit here and claim I'm a scientist or know how to, do hardly any of this stuff. I'm just going off of what I'm reading, probably from the wrong things because I'm just a
I
sheeple.
have a question.
I have an answer, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Like what causes the moonquake since is that like the crust is under like how our earthquakes are?
Yeah. So
Or
there are the moon is relatively for its size. It's cooled down quite a lot since the formation of it. And we'll kind of talk about how the mainstream, science thinks that the moon was formed. Um, but it still has like a malleable magma-ish sort of material between the crust and the core
hmm,
that still shifts. So similar
okay.
processes that we would have here on Earth with, our plate tectonics, our magma that flows it underneath the crust. It's just not as active as you would think, but since it's less
Yeah.
dense and not as big, they last for a lot longer.
Hmm. Okay.
So,
That's interesting.
yeah. So, the one of the ways that NASA, supposedly uh, got these seismic um, readings was they deliberately crashed Apollo 12's ascent stage and from the lunar module into the surface to try to get like data
Mm,
off of that. Now, see, this is where it gets kind of funny because you hear people that talk about this and the same people that say the moon landing was fake are the same people that say the moon's hollow. And they use these freaking references. We can't have our cake and eat it
right.
too. Okay?
Right, yeah.
I'm just saying.
Well, they didn't land, they just crashed into it.
Fair, fair. But how then did they have seismic monitors on the ground? If like
uh,
that yeah,
I don't
exactly.
know.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
here
funny.
for a good conspiracy theory, but I'm not here for some BS where you say, "Oh yeah, well they did this and this one during the Apollo missions," but then, also say that the moon landing was fake. Whatever. Maybe
Right.
people that
Okay.
believe in the hollow moon think the moon landing was real. I don't know. I'm just going off of, my own bias here towards people that are idiots. So, all right.
Nice.
Let's talk about this. I'm going to do my best to say this name. I think I can. It's the gentleman that posted the spaceship moon article, Vasin Shirabakov. Shirabakov. Yeah, Shirabakov. We're going to go with that. That's
Hmm.
pretty okay. Um, so like I said, this was published in Sputnik, which is kind of like the Soviet Union's Reader Digest at the time. The gentleman, um, Alexander Vasin Shirvak, or no, it's two people. I'm sorry. Yeah, I misread that. Michael Vasin and Alexander Shirabakov. Yep, we're going to go there. They were both of the Soviet Academy of Sciences. When they advanced the
What?
hypothesis that the moon was a spacecraft created by unknown beings, the title of the article, which I believe is still out and about and loosely translated from, Russian to English, is the moon the creation of alien intelligence? Question mark.
Wow. What a question.
Yeah, I know. So the authors referenced early speculation by a certain astrophysicist who suggested that the Martian moon Phobos was an artificial
Hmm.
satellite. I don't know. I couldn't find like any like information as to why that person thought that. Because that has been definitely shown not to be the case. Like calling Phobos like a moon, it's so small. It
Yeah.
might as well like yes, technically, I guess by definition it is a moon, but it's not anything. It's just a looks like an asteroid. That's what it looks like. But so they kind of bought into that like ancient astronaut, ancient alien thing when they were writing. this whole thing is that it just didn't. I don't know. It's almost like we were looking for answer. They were trying to deliberately like undermine what the United States is doing with their space program. That's what it really seems
Mm,
like more than
yeah.
anything, which I think was probably like the reason for the article was to kind of get like because man, like the disinformation between like the Soviet Union and the United States during that time was huge. Talking about, you had a at that time, at least on paper, a mostly Christian society in the West and a very atheist society in, Russia and the Soviet Union. And then when they're talking about this, they're equating a lot of stuff in space and whatnot to not anything like heavenly or divine, but just extraterrestrial intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, so there was a lot of
Yeah.
this, like, I feel like this might have not been as serious as some people take it. I think it was more of a disinformation thing to try to convince people to go away from theism to more atheism and kind of get their way into that sort of mindset of thinking more like the Soviet Union than how we were in that time. That's just my
Mm,
own opinion. So we're going to talk about some reasons why people think that the moon is manufactured or placed here by another intelligence. One of the things
all
is
right.
the perfect solar eclipses that we have. It fits
Oh,
perfectly
yeah.
over the sun. Now, here's the thing with that. People that may not know, the moon is every yeah, I mean, it is moving away from us. So there will be a point in time where the sun does not, or the moon does not perfectly eclipse the sun. It'll be quite a ways down the road. We're talking hundreds of thousands, if not millions of years, but eventually it will be so far out where it will not cover up the sun perfectly. Just because something happens and it looks like it was designed doesn't mean it was designed.
Mm,
It could just
yeah.
be that's the thing. I try to look out, and when I see things out in the universe, like you see things that are so incredible. You see all these stars, all these galaxies, all this stuff, and it's so big. You have an infinite possibility of how something can be formed. So you're going to see an infinite number of ways it could be formed. I personally think the way that the moon was created, we had Theia, supposedly a planetoid, hit us in our early formation. It broke off a substantial amount of material. That material coalesced into the moon that we have today. That's why when we go up to the moon and we took samples, we were like, holy shit, this is stuff from Earth. So,
Mm,
you know, it's one of those things where I don't like when things are like, oh well, it's just so perfect. It does like
right.
nature
It's
has a
very
way of
human again. Like,
right. It goes back to like the hubris of I think our species that oh, this planet was made perfect for just us. It's like, well, no, our
right.
planet was made perfect for everything that currently lives here and previously lived here. I mean, it's what nature does. It's a survival of the fittest or whatever you want to call it. It's like you're going to adapt to your current environment and that's what you're going to have. As far as the moon being perfectly aligned with the sun for a solar eclipse, I think it's just a huge coincidence. That's
Mm,
all I seriously
yeah.
think it is. I don't think it's anything crazy like that. But I also think it's super rad that we get to live and see full solar eclipses and completely block out the sun for that period of time. And it's amazing. It makes me understand why
Yeah.
ancient cultures were like, God's mad at us. We can't be doing this stuff anymore. Grab all the kids and kill them because we gotta appease God now. I totally
Right.
get it.
Yeah.
Because if you saw that back in the day, holy shit, you'd be like, well, we're done.
Yeah. Yeah. The world's ending. Yeah,
Literally.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those things where I'm not a huge fan of when people say that it's like so perfect for us and this is why it's doing this and this. It's like, yeah, maybe, but it could just be that that's the size of the chunk that was hit from us and coalesce. That's just what it happened to be. You know, if we didn't
Yeah.
have in the early formation of the solar system, if we didn't have something that hit us, we'd be on a very different planet right now. We might not even exist, you know?
Yeah.
So,
There'd be some other creature.
yeah, it'd be some other weird looking thing talking about the same thing about how, we don't have a moon and it's really weird that we don't have a moon. So,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, the aliens took it away
they took it away
from
from
us.
us.
Yeah, that's what the alternate one.
So, we've talked a lot about like kind of being in the realm of reality, and we haven't really talked a whole lot about, what this hollow moon actually could possibly be. So,
Yeah.
let's get into this. So, this is from that article that I was talking about. Was the moon or is the moon a creation of alien intelligence?
Mm.
Question mark. So the hypothesis relies heavily on that large craters, generally assumed to be formed by meteor impacts to all the sheeple out there, are generally too shallow and too flat uh, to have like the convex bottoms. You know what I
Uh,
mean? Small
right.
craters would have depth proportion to their diameter, but large craters are not any deeper. So it's kind of like you're looking at like I
Mm.
guess an average depth of all these asteroid and celestial impacts and whatnot. It is hypothesized that for small meteors, making a cup-shaped depression in the rocky surface of the moon, while the meteors drilling through like I don't know 5 miles, if they were to really hit hard, um, they should have hit like an underneath hull apparently. But the thing is about it is like they're saying that okay, everything is too uniform on the moon. Everything looks the same. It had to have been manufactured.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah,
I I guess.
I don't know. It doesn't it that whole part of it doesn't really mean anything. There is a really good picture. I'm going to share my screen real quick of a possible um, what the moon actually looks like. So we can give me your thoughts on this
Like
one,
inside?
Sarah.
Oh. Who made this? Like it looks a little like okay.
so
What
for
is that like
I don't
tunnels?
I don't know. Okay, I'm just going off of what I got for you. Okay, so for listeners,
Okay.
right now we're looking at a picture of the moon and it has a cutout, and you're looking, I don't know, like relatively speaking, a pretty thin upper layer of rock that is surrounded by a metal like crust, probably a couple miles
Hmm.
thick right here. You know what I mean? But then inside, we have this awesome structure, a core right here that's orange that looks like it's powering everything. These offshoots that are coming off from supposedly, I don't know, research areas, living facilities, eating facility. Like, I mean, who knows what could be in there? But yeah, that is a proposed,
Yeah.
picture of
Okay. I
of
mean,
what
I
they're.
think they could use they could use the space a little bit better if they're doing that.
Well, Sarah, they are advanced aliens that most likely reptilians, and that is the shape that works the best for them. Okay?
The reptilians? I thought they're in the Earth. They're both.
See, once again, Sarah, don't ask questions. This is just what
Mm,
that is the alien creatures that are supposedly up there are reptilians and
mm.
supposedly in the Earth too. I feel like
Okay.
it's an honest scapegoat.
Yeah. They just like being in the center of everything.
Yeah, yeah. They're just attention whores, They just like being,
Right.
part of everything, and it's all about me, 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 I. So supposedly, this structure is mostly hollow. It has everything from research facilities to monitoring facilities to radio, transmitters, receivers, um, places to sleep, places to eat. Do like
Mm,
anything you could possibly need. Like imagine like the Star Wars Death Star. That's what is literally orbiting around Earth right now with an advanced
right.
alien
That's what I've
technology.
always imagined.
Yeah, I mean that's literally
Yeah.
the best way to think about it. And to kind of go back a little bit, I understand because the way that like the size of our moon is super odd. It's way too big compared to the other moons that we have for the other planets in our solar system. But that doesn't mean that it's created by aliens or just plopped, in the perfect place for tides and, having like our lunar cycle that happens like that. It whatever. But yeah, there are so many different ideas of like the purpose of this. So one purpose is for monitoring. Monitoring what? I'm not sure. Us, I would assume, but once again, that kind of gives me like that hubris of mankind sort of thing. Like, why would an advanced alien civilization that can travel intergalactically be like, "Hey, look at these stupid chimps with guns and nukes"?
Right.
Like, I think yeah, that
We're
would be
their entertainment.
maybe. I think it would I like, I'm not trying to say that, like, I think we would be somewhat interesting to advanced civilizations, but at the same time, interesting enough to put, like, a alien megastructure around our planet.
Right.
I don't think that's the most effective way to do it. So, it just seems kinda odd. And then there's another theory that I saw that the hollow moon is meant for to kinda, like, keep us in check. Whatever species is up there, it's meant to, like, if we get too
Hmm.
out of hand, they got, like, an outpost. Instead of going all the way from their home planet, wherever the hell that is, they can just, hop right on over because 'cause they're like, "Hey, knock it off, humans. We don't need to be doing anything like that anymore," or whatever that may be.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
most
I wonder what would trigger that. How extreme does it need to be?
I don't know. But it's
I don't think so.
it's an odd thing with like there's no obvious concrete like this is definitely what it is. And every time we do have anything concrete of like, oh no, it's just a ball of rock that is extremely malleable, like we talked about earlier. It's like, nah, look into it, bro. It's like the flat Earth all over
Right.
again. Just look into it. But yeah,
Yeah.
supposedly these reptilians are the ones that are living and working out of this place. And it
Hmm.
I don't know. I've never been like a huge fan of like the whole reptilian thing because it has like religious connotation and also like I don't
Mm.
know. It's really weird.
Yeah.
So, but
Hmm.
there is some interesting testimony supposedly from Mr. Neil
Oh.
Armstrong about when he walked on the
Oh,
moon.
really?
Supposedly.
Hmm. Did
So,
it feel hollow when he walked? Or what?
So, when Neil Armstrong took his walk on the moon and became the first man to do so, what followed was an onslaught of conspiracy theories. Of course, because people thought it was fake, people thought it was filmed in a Hollywood set. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
For one, his historic stroll on the moon claimed to have been shot in a studio, like I said. One of the conspiracy theories surrounding this moment is that remains a mystery to this date. So during the Apollo 11 mission in 1969, after Armstrong landed on the moon, NASA claimed to have lost communication for roughly 2 minutes. They don't know why. Now,
Mm.
reportedly, there was a secret message to NASA from Armstrong on a secret channel. And he said, quote, "These babies are huge, sir. Enormous. Oh my God. You wouldn't believe it. I'm telling you, there are other spacecrafts out here, lined up as far on the far side of a crater's edge, and they're watching us."
Mm. Oh. And that's why they cut it off or whatever? Because he said
Supposedly.
that? Wow.
Supposedly.
Okay.
Now, there
When he said
was
babies, I thought he meant like I thought he meant he
space
saw like
babies,
reptilian
moon
babies.
babies.
Yeah, I don't know. I was like, what? Not just the ships or whatever.
Okay, now I don't know Neil Armstrong. I know it was a different time and whatnot, but like these babies were huge, or these babies are
Yeah.
huge. That's such a weird thing to say. Like
Yeah, it doesn't sound like
I
back
feel
then.
like if I okay, one, I'm trying to put myself in the headspace of those astronauts that orbited the moon and that landed on the moon and walked on the moon. That had to be like the most terrifying, exciting, anxiety-ridden moment ever, right? Because you have no idea what's gonna happen. 0 idea. You're just
Yeah.
hoping shit works. And I feel like if you were the first person on the moon, 1, that is has to be an unbelievable feeling. 2, if you step off and you're just like, "Holy shit, there are spacecraft. There are alien," like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't say, "These babies are huge." You'd probably be like,
Right.
"Holy shit."
Right.
Like
I need to leave.
yeah, yeah.
Like, God
What
damn.
the yeah, I'm leaving. Like, I
Right,
don't
yeah.
that phrase and that quote always makes me laugh because it just doesn't make sense to me. And granted, once again, I know it's 1969. I know the terminology and the phraseology of what, the English language was different. But these babies are huge, sir. Like that's what I'm expecting him to say. Like, what are you talking
I don't think so. I don't think that's what he'd say. He'd say,
about?
"Holy shit. Get
Yeah,
me off of this.
yeah.
I gotta
Now,
get home."
oh God, I
Oh
don't
my
know.
god. Wow.
So there's another one from another astronaut. So Alan Bean claims he saw something shiny on the moon, described
Hmm.
it as shoe leather, quote unquote. So we're talking something very, very reflective. I don't know why shoe leather is the thing,
Yeah, shoe
but
leather is reflective.
I don't know. But while you would expect space to be black and devoid of light in places, there were shiny things that he saw. Could it have been glass? Could it have been reflection? There's not an explanation for this one. Okay. So
Hmm.
that's kind of one of those weird ones where, light here on Earth like plays tricks on you. You know, the shadows will play tricks on you. You're in a place that is completely alien and completely foreign to anything that you've ever seen. And you're gonna like your senses are gonna be on high alert and you're gonna start to like see weird stuff that happens. And who's to say that like you're not in that bubble of that protective, what is it? That I'm probably going to say this wrong because I'm not a scientist or I'm not a learned person. I'm a sheeple. Um, the magnetic field that covers the Earth. I don't know if
Hmm.
that stretches
Yeah.
out to the moon. You know what I mean? I don't know that. So if it doesn't,
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does either. But if you're getting hit with all this extra stuff that you're not used to seeing, there's a really crazy thing that would happen. Astronauts, even in the ISS, would talk about like they would see like flashes of light, like when they close their
Hmm.
eyes, and what it is
Oh.
fucking particles going through your fucking
Right.
head.
Oh wow. Like
So
radiation
like no, like
or not?
physical
Not
particles,
radiation, I guess.
like
Yeah.
physical
Wow.
items so small hitting your fucking retina and just ripping through it, right?
Right.
So if you're out in
Okay.
in like not I mean the moon wouldn't be like deep space, but you're out in space away from the protective field of the earth. Yeah, I'm sure you're going to get hit with shit like that because it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean that's what I'm kind of thinking. It could have been that like shiny whatever, like oh he saw a flash of light. Well, it might have been a particle, hitting you in your retina and fucking you up a little bit. But
Yeah. Wow.
yeah, I the thing is with this whole hollow moon thing, I never have like any like concrete evidence besides a bunch of like BS conjecture from people that don't think the moon landing happened most of the time. You know what I mean?
Right.
And the thing is, we as a species haven't, if you do believe the moon landing happened, we haven't explored enough of it to really know anything about it. I mean, there have been people that have talked about, colonizing the moon. I think that's eventually what's going to happen. And who knows? We get up there and there are aliens up there and they are watching us and they're like, "Hey, you got to go. This is our rock. Beat it."
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they have talked about if they do have established settlements there, the utilizing craters and these like um lava tubes that were created when, the surface was still really molten is usually the best thing to do because a lot of that stuff that I was talking about, those high speed particles, the radiation, stuff like that, it won't be able to hit you if you're under that ground.
Mm,
You know what I mean? So
yeah.
I get the reasoning
Mm,
for why people would think it would be hollow. I'm personally not buying that it's hollow, but that's kind of where we're at as far as the hollow moon thing. There is one
yeah.
more astronaut account. This wasn't on the moon though, but I still thought it was kind of interesting. This is about Scott Kelly. He spent a lot of
Mm,
time on the International Space Station. I believe he's one of the people that spent the longest up there. I didn't
yeah.
see how, but
I think so.
I think it was like over a year he was up there. But he went to he became one of the yeah, he had the most hours out of any astronaut so far. So I don't know why they said hours, but he's definitely been up there the longest. But that's not the only thing that makes his story stand out. Kelly has said things that suggest he had a big brush, quote unquote, with aliens. A big brush. While he's not said
In
him,
the station?
I don't know. This is the other thing where it's kind of weird. He has not said so himself in many words. He jokes and seems like it's more like, aha, yeah, this is what happened. You know what I mean? Uh, but he mentioned in an interview that he spoke about aliens having it easier in space than we do.
Okay. Yeah, what is that supposed to mean?
I don't know, but I kind of thought it was funny because that's one of those things where you have no substance, you have no nothing, you have absolutely nothing to go off of. You're going off of it rang like a bell. That means it's hollow. That's what that fucking quote reads to me. And that is what every time I see these crazy conspiracies, like I've said before, I am down. I am so down for a crazy conspiracy. I'm not down for dumb stuff like the moon is
Yeah.
hollow. You know what I
Like,
mean?
what about it's a hologram?
So I kind of was thinking about getting into the holographic side of things and then like that it's just, an illusion to us. The only reason why I would say that, if we're looking up and we see that if we were thinking it was a hologram, it wouldn't block out the sun when we have solar eclipses. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that's
they
true.
and I know most people probably that are on the side of the hollow moon or anything like that won't believe the statement I'm about to say. But during the Apollo missions, they put reflectors up there. That way we could measure the distance and see how far and where it wanes and
Mm.
flows and distances and stuff like that, along with other scientific, research material. So, like, you can literally shoot a laser from a telescope and get an exact distance from, okay, cool, it's at this distance now because of those reflectors up on the moon. So,
Mm. That's cool.
yeah, I mean, but that's the thing. It's like once again, my question to all of these people is, what's the point? I need the why. I need the why, and it's
Yeah.
just like, well, it was just put there, and they're just watching us. Why? Why?
Yeah.
Why are we like? What's the point? What's so important about the human beings that we have? It's our own spaceship moon of aliens watching us right now. Like that's so stupid. I
Yeah. Yeah. There really is no point about it.
it's
Also, like, we do so much cool shit. Like, why you don't have to make it up.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean I mean,
Like,
and truth be told, maybe I am just being a sheeple right now and just going off of the information that science and NASA has been lying to me about this entire time, and I'm just buying into it hook, line, and sinker, and I just haven't looked into it, bro. My thing is, usually the easiest explanation is the right explanation, the one that
yeah.
makes sense, the one that you're not like, huh, I wonder about this part of this or whatever. It's usually the one that makes the most sense. What makes the most
Yep.
sense to me personally, when we were forming early in our solar system, another planet that was forming early hit into us, knocked off a bunch of material, made us, a huge moon that we shouldn't have, and it's a lot of coincidence. That's really where I'm at. You know what I mean? I don't
Yeah.
think it's anything more. I don't think it's anything less. I think it's awesome. that we have such a huge moon that we've gone to and we've visited and we have scientific research for. And I think that we're going to be living on it. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked, Sarah, if in your and my lifetime that we have people that are stationed up on the moon, instead of an
Yeah, I
international
was gonna
space
say that.
station. Yeah,
Right.
we have the
Would you go
International
up
Moon
there?
Station. Fuck yeah, I'd go up there. Dude, I'd go up there in a heartbeat.
Uh, I don't think I'd go.
Why?
Well, I mean, again, anything could go wrong. You have no oxygen or anything. I mean, I'm not
Okay.
trusting other people to get me up there and back. Like, or am I just gonna live up there? Then you're just subject
I mean,
to disaster every
you're
day.
you're only like 4 days away.
Yeah, but I'm not living in the colony up there.
I
Moon
mean,
colony.
yeah, the Moonies. We're gonna be the
Yeah.
actual
Yeah, I'm not interested in that. Yeah. Yeah,
but
what if a cult happens on the moon? You can't get away.
oh, you think
It's
for a
literally like the
second that
worst
won't
situation.
happen? You think,
It
oh, dude,
will.
it 100% will happen. You will have a completely different
Yeah.
society forming, a whole different government,
Right.
a whole different like thought process. Fuck, you might even have a whole nother religion that comes out of living
Yeah.
on the moon. And the same thing as we start to like spread out as a species, that is what is going to happen. We're instead of like, oh, we don't like that country over there right now. We're going to be sitting here on Earth like, oh, those Martians over there, they're just a bunch of pieces of
Mm.
shit trying to take all of our,
Yeah.
whatever. You know, that's how it's going to be because human
Oxygen.
beings are, yeah, all of our oxygen. I work so hard and all they do is take, take, take.
Right. Yeah.
But in all seriousness, I'm not buying the Hollow Moon. What are you thinking, Sarah?
Yeah. I don't think so.
Now, I will
Yeah,
say,
I think it's just a coincidence.
yeah, the the artist rendition or the artist, Hollow Moon
Rendition.
rendition. Thank you, Sarah. Words are hard. See, that's what we're here for. Here to help each other out. Mostly me.
Yeah.
I did like and appreciate that because that is kind of cool. It kind of looks like one of those ant colony things. You know what I mean? Of where they kind of dug out everything and
Yeah.
you know have little
It looked
tubes and
like
stuff going everywhere.
it was done in like paint.
Probably was.
Like MS Paint.
Most likely,
Yeah, I
Sarah.
want a better one. I want
Well,
like a architecture sketch
okay. Well,
of
let's
it.
let's see. Hang on. Before we end this episode, I know this is
Well,
great podcasting. We're gonna find the most detailed hollow moon we can possibly find. Okay.
okay.
So let's go to good old Google Images. I know, listeners, this is so fantastic, but this is more for Sarah and I. So selfishly, this is what we're gonna do. Oh, look at there. We don't have fucking shit because
Yeah.
it's
I
probably a
just see this
lie.
one that's like that it's like a hole through the whole moon. It's like a hole through it, like a
Oh,
bullet shot through it.
even better.
That's the only one I see. Yeah.
Oh, here's a good one for you, Sarah. Here, I'm sharing this one.
Okay.
You'll love this. This is a fantastic one.
Yeah, I like that one better, yeah. It's like what was it, the monkey toy where
Yeah. Yep.
they're chained together.
Yep.
Yeah. But aliens.
Yep. Little green men
Okay.
hanging on the bars of the
Yeah.
hollow moon
Yeah.
structure.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah, that
goodness.
would be fun.
Yeah. And like I said, who knows? Maybe, 50 years from now, I'll be calling you up and be like, "Sarah, I'm on the moon right now at the Mooney settlement, and guess what? There ain't shit up here. Sucks."
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I definitely want to be part of the first group to go.
oh, no, no, no. I'm letting at least a couple thousand go through first,
Yeah.
man. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, definitely not being
Yeah.
the first. But
Right.
listeners, this is kind of a silly one. Hope you guys enjoyed the quote unquote hollow moon, uh, the theory. And I would say more of it's definitely a hypothesis, not a theory. But yeah. So that's going to do it for today. Anywhere you guys see this, anywhere you guys are listening to this, interact with these posts, like, comment, share, subscribe. Give us a review on whatever you're listening to, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite podcast service is. And as always,
Remember, just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching. See you next time on The Paranoid Perspective.